this fabric is very hard to work with. It has the satin weave, so it has the crosswise grain, so it's even hard to put the darts in. I'm going to go ahead and double knot the ends of each dart that I just put in. And I think, even though I'm very delicate with handling it, I think I'm going to actually put a stitch all the way around because it's fraying so much. Okay, let's back up a minute. This is part 2 of the series of my peaked lapel unlined jacket pattern that I did and showed you how I made the pattern. And in this video, I'm going to show you all the inside workings and preparation, like the interfacing and the binding to make this gorgeous unlined jacket. So let me show you that footage now. So I finished the darts on both the front panel and the back shoulder panel, and we're at the point of interfacing. I'm going to use my Tricot stretch interfacing that I always use because it's lightweight and it does wonders on everything. Can't do traditional tailoring on an unlined jacket in silks, satin. So I'm thinking I'm going to use the same Tricot to border the entire of the jacket and any seam that I want to perform nicely. And this is way too wide. This is 1.25 inches, and I'm going to cut it down to about 5/8 of an inch and adhere it all the way around important areas and the collar area to sew on there with a little overlap and see if that helps. So I'm cutting down a good amount of this. So I put a stay stitch around the collar and most of the front panel and the back panel because it was fraying so much, but I think that might be a little bit of a no-no. I don't want it to pull in any way, so I'm just going to take my seam ripper and just release it in places so that it doesn't pucker or pull in any way. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere this stay tape with the steam iron. So where else am I going to need interfacing? Well, you're going to need them on the bottom of the sleeves and on the bottom of the hem so that you have a nice roll. You want to interface at least 2 to 2.5 inches from the hem, like this. And this is going to be sewn into the seam allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and put this over here. Steam this piece here, as well as up here where the slit is. portion of the interfacing that needs to happen is the hem of the jacket itself, about where you're going to fold the hem up. So I'm going to put some of this fusible right here. You just want it for the fold line, basically. And just lay it on there. I'm going to cut out the shape. I don't want to overlap where I already have interfacing. So I'm going to take that off. And I'm not going to put it over the dart. I'm going to put it in between the darts. So I'm going to cut here. And slide this underneath the dart like that. I'm going to steam this down, and I'm going to do the rest of the bottom of the lining of the jacket. Most logical step, the next most logical step would be to actually encase the edges of the panels. So with the binding first, and then sew the seams together. This is fraying quite a bit, so I'm going to have to trim any frayed areas like this. And the binding is double folded onto itself, so it'll encase the edges of the pattern pieces like that, and give it a beautiful decoration as well inside of the jacket. And then I can sew those seams together. So a lot of time and effort went into pinning the binding on most every seam, outer edge of the jacket pieces. Now let's bring it over to the sewing machine and get that binding stitched down. So I changed the thread to the color of the binding. Let's go ahead and get that started. Putting the pins here on the binding was really just a preliminary. I'm literally going to have to take the pins out and use my hands to make sure it's inside there as I sew. I don't think basting would even help because this is such a fragile fabric that you just kind of have to do it with skill on the machine like this. So I took that off because you have to understand that there is two sides to this binding. There's a side that is a little bit longer, if you can see that, and a side that's a little shorter. I had this on the wrong side, so I'm going to take this out. I carelessly did not consciously remember that, so I'm going to have to turn this around so that the shorter side is on the right side and the longer side is on the back, so that when I stitch here, I will make sure I catch it. Let's try this again. And there we go. It's catching on both sides now. So I'm just going to have to make sure that all of them are on the right side, or I flip them over. And I'm going to continue to hold it down ever so gently. Clipping off the frayed edges. And stitching it all the way down. Pressed everything so there's no puckering. I want to make it as smooth as possible. And it's just, now there's no notches and it's like a puzzle piece to put together. So it's hard for me to concentrate on Monday because I don't have a strict schedule like a lot of YouTubers do have, where every Tuesday they film and every Thursday they upload. I have just a few criterias and I pretty much work every day. But Mondays is usually a personal day. That's when I go to doctors, that's when I take care of other stuff, and now it's tax season, so I'm trying to get all that organized. But I wanted to get back to the jacket. And what I did is all of the binding is put on the edges of the seam allowance lines, and then I sort of pinned the main pieces together here. So it's going to be really pretty inside because of all this binding that we're putting here. And then it's going to be a 1/2 inch seam allowance, or seam line I should say, and then it's going to be pressed open. So the inside is going to be pretty cool. It is still fragile. It is a silk, satin weave, so you have to be careful that none of this will pull, but I think this type of jacket with my traditional t-shirt dressing will probably be cool. So I think the prep work is done. I think we've accomplished all the preparation that we need for this jacket before we can start the real sewing process. So I think I'm going to stop there. I think we're going to do this in bite-sized pieces so you guys absorb all of this a little bit easier. There was a lot going on with the preparation for this jacket. There was a lot going on with the adjusting of the design of the jacket. So the next one, I think I'm going to, start the sewing process and work on that collar, and that alone will be enough for you guys to absorb. So let's stop there and get this jacket going. It's on my website now, guys, so you can purchase this jacket pattern from size 2 to 14 and go along with me. Go on this journey with me and make your jacket as well. And I hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up. Come on board, guys. Be a part of my community. I love all of you guys on my YouTube channel and Instagram. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.